breakups hit hard. Your self-esteem takes a nosedive. You're desperate to feel better. But when it comes to breakups, there are some really common reactions that are actually emotional traps. So in this video, I'm going to expose the 3 huge mistakes that destroy your self-esteem during a breakup, which are going to kill any chance of reconciliation with your ex. And I'm going to reveal the 5-step process that actually builds lasting confidence, whatever happens in your breakup. The first big mistake is jumping into a rebound relationship. This scenario plays out countless of times every single day as men and women desperately try to fill the void that are left by their ex. And it's a common mistake, but it's also one that leads to disaster. Rushing into a new relationship after a breakup is like slapping a band-aid on a gaping wound. Rebound relationships have a significantly higher failure rate, often crumbling within the first few months. You're not giving yourself time to heal, process your emotions, or learn from your past relationship. Instead, you're jumping right back into the deep end, often when you're simply not ready for a new relationship. And there is psychology behind this. Seeking quick replacements is often rooted in fear and insecurity. After a breakup, a lot of men and women experience a really profound fear of loneliness, right? When you break up with someone, your mind can go to like, well, who's next? How can I find my one, right? How can I find my soulmate? Who's the person that I'm meant to be with? There's a nagging voice in your head saying, if I'm single, I'm low value. So we can get into this habit of craving validation without even knowing it, desperate to prove to yourself and maybe even your ex-partner that you are still desirable, right? You're still of value. And this need for external validation can drive you into a cycle of unhealthy relationships, each one actually chipping away at your self-esteem because you've not worked on the processes in order to build it back up. Whether you're wanting to jump into a new relationship or whether you're trying to repair your current relationship with your partner or ex-partner, there's a lot of experts that say that there's an ideal time between relationships of around 6 months in order to repair, rebuild yourself and be able to move forward into a new relationship, whether it's with your ex or a new partner. Think about it. That is half a year of focusing on yourself, processing your emotions, your skills, and gaining clarity before diving back into the dating pool. And this might sound like an eternity, especially when you're hurting, but it is crucial. It's a crucial investment in your future and your future happiness. And there's a lot of guys who ignore this advice and rush into a new relationship and often end up with a serious case of rebound regret. They realize too late that they haven't fully dealt with their previous breakup. And actually, they have been wanting to repair the relationship with their ex-partner. This unresolved emotional baggage starts to seep into their new relationship and it causes conflicts, insecurities, and ultimately another painful ending. And then what happens is that when they realize that they do want to repair the relationship with their ex, is that not only are they 6 months behind in their actual growth, but they've also caused a lot of doubt within their ex-partner in their commitment to the relationship. If you think about it, if you jumped into a rebound relationship and now you're saying, oh, I actually want to repair the relationship, is that you've actually put yourself on a back foot. So it becomes a vicious cycle and this can leave your self-esteem in tatters. But there's another mistake that people make. The second biggest mistake is the comparison game. So this tendency to compare ourselves to maybe an ex's new partner or somebody of the opposite sex that you're jealous of, this stems from a deep-seated insecurity and fear. We're subconsciously questioning our own worth, thinking, if she chose him over me, what does that say about me? This thought pattern breeds a lot of negative self-talk and it plummets your confidence. Sometimes we determine our own worth based on how we stack up against other people, but this is a flawed approach, especially after a breakup. Your value as a person isn't diminished because a relationship has ended or it's going through a tough time. It's not a reflection of your inherent worth or your potential for future happiness. But there's a really common pitfall that a lot of people fall into. And maybe you've experienced this in other people as well. Have you ever come across someone who seems suspiciously upbeat after a breakup? This false bravado might seem like strength, but it's often hiding a deeper, more complex reality, right? We've all kind of seen it before, or maybe even done it ourselves. This idea of like proclaiming that, oh, I'm so much better off without my ex, plastering social media with pictures of a new life, going out with the lads, drinking, going to the gym. This kind of overcompensation with like a false confidence is a massive trap. And a lot of us can lie to ourselves when we go through tough times like this. This is a kind of a masking of deeper insecurities and actually delays any sort of healing process. And this really impacts if you're trying to repair your relationship with your partner. If you're putting on this, what we call with my members, the lone wolf illusion, this idea that you don't need anyone, you don't care about anything else, you are simply this lone wolf living life to the fullest. But deep inside, you're absolutely crushed. This actually delays a lot of the healing, right? And if your ex-partner sees this, or even a new potential partner sees that you're having this lone wolf illusion, this false bravado of talking horribly about your ex-partner all the time and talking about how much better off you are, this shows to the people around you that you are not fully healed from this relationship. You haven't looked at where you've gone wrong, where you can improve on your growth. You're actually pretending that you've already reached this finish line. It fakes that you've already done all this healing and you have no more room for growth. This bravado is a prime example of emotional suppression. So this is a psychological defense mechanism where people attempt to push down or ignore difficult emotions. And the problem is that these emotions don't simply disappear, they remain unprocessed. And this creates a buildup of emotional tension that eventually leads to mental health issues, and it disrupts our ability to form genuine connections in future relationships. And unfortunately, it impacts everything around you. Faking happiness doesn't actually create happiness. You can't fake it till you make it. What it does is it creates a vicious cycle. The more that you suppress it, the harder it becomes to face your true feelings. By avoiding necessary emotional work, you're setting yourself up for failure and a massive, massive crash later on. So it's important to avoid these mistakes. These are very, very common mistakes that a lot of people do during breakups. And a lot of members that start with me having fallen for these illusions in the past. They've made these mistakes and they had seen the relationship getting further and further away from them. It's only once we start working together and they actually start to recognize, which I'll talk about in a minute, the steps to work through these illusions, that they actually start to see real change within repairing their relationship. So yes, self-awareness is crucial, but it is only the first step. However, there is a 5-step process that rebuilds your self-esteem and starts to rewire your brain to approach relationships in a completely new way. And this process leads to a lot more genuine self-esteem growth and lasting change. And this has a massive impact, not only in repairing your relationship with an ex, but also pursuing any new relationships in the future. So let's dive into this 5-step process. So step 1 is compassion. This sounds very simple. It's a very simple term, but this is the foundation. You got to treat yourself with kindness instead of harsh self-criticism. And I'm actually going to talk deeper about this in a future video. This whole idea of being hard on yourself, being extremely hard on yourself, doesn't work. It's a short-term fix that causes a long-term problem. Being extremely harsh on yourself and criticizing yourself, it can motivate you short-term, but long-term, it actually causes deeper and deeper rifts. And maybe you've seen this in yourself, maybe working with a boss who has been extremely critical of themselves or you, and you've seen over time, they just become more and more angry and bitter, right? This is what happens when you're extremely harsh on yourself. So it's important to be compassionate with yourself. Creating this compassion within yourself also allows you to become more compassionate with the people around you. The more that you build that compassion, you build that understanding, the more that you will build that empathy, and the more you'll be able to create a connection with yourself and your partner as well. So a basic but quite a powerful way of doing this that some people can do is writing a letter to yourself from the perspective of a supportive friend. So this is talking to yourself, fostering a gentler self-dialogue. Simply writing a letter to talk to yourself, taking the time to understand why you did the things that you did and encourage yourself to move forward and grow from it. Step 2 is specificity. So this is getting crystal clear about where your self-esteem is lacking. So be very specific about identifying areas like, I want to feel more confident in relationships. So getting very specific about areas like, I want to feel more self-confident about my body. I want to feel more self-confident about the way I communicate. I want to feel more self-confident within a relationship. I want to feel less jealous in a relationship. Getting very specific and having this clarity allows you to target specific areas of improvement instead of general sort of self-help advice, which doesn't really turn into anything. Step 3 is control. So this is focusing on what you can influence. So by identifying aspects of your situation of the breakup that you can actually impact, you shift attention away from unproductive worries, and this boosts your self-esteem. So instead of focusing on your ex-partner moving on, focus on what you do, on learning how to communicate, learning how to build these relationship skills will help to boost your self-esteem. Again, this has a massive impact on if you're repairing the relationship with your ex-partner or if you're wanting to be in a new relationship in the future. And then step 4 is action. So this is all about taking small but consistent steps forward. For example, if one of your goals is wanting to improve your communication skills, start by initiating brief interactions with people, practicing your communication skills. These small wins build momentum and it allows you to tackle bigger challenges over time. And chipping away at these skills bit by bit over time is something that my members have found really, really useful. Just a small amount of time per day, but in a very specific manner, means that you're able to grow in quite a significant way because you're hyper-targeting specific blind spots that you've had in the past. And if you do want to join my members and I, then sign up for the free relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the same steps and tools that all of my members have used to grow and repair their relationships. Just click on the link in the description to grab your spot. And then step 5 is make it a lifestyle. So this is incorporating these practices into your daily routine. The more small steps you make, but consistently over time, this snowballs and this approach becomes a second nature to you. And this fundamentally changes how you view yourself and how you approach relationships. This over time builds up your self-esteem because you're watching your progress grow and grow and grow. By doing these 5 steps, 15 minutes a day, repeatedly, this creates a lasting change by starting with compassion, allows you to measure your progress, and it builds up the evidence that you are capable of improving over time. This, as a result, builds your self-esteem. You're focusing on the things that you can control, and you're building real-world confidence through daily actions. And the payoff from this is massive. When you're reconnecting with an ex-partner, they will start to feel those changes. They'll feel your self-esteem. It's not this false bravado, but it's actual real self-esteem and real skills. But if you're wanting to move forward in a different relationship, you do this over time, over 6 months. When you do start to pursue a new relationship, you'll have so much self-esteem and confidence in starting that new relationship that you won't have to fake it. You won't have to fumble around like you did in the previous relationship. This is when you're getting specific about your insecurities and you're tackling them head on. You start to see this improvement in ways that you never thought possible. And this is a proven path to transformation. It sets you up for a healthier, much more fulfilling relationship in the future. You're building this foundation of self-esteem that can weather any relationship. So true self-esteem isn't about external validation or comparing yourself to other people. It's an internal process. It's an internal process of self-acceptance and growth. And this is where a lot of relationship psychology is evolving to, recognizing that personal development is crucial for successful, healthy partnerships. Remember, you're not a failure because of a breakup. This is an opportunity to learn and grow. It's really important to understand that low self-esteem isn't immediately obvious. This low self-esteem trickles out into a lot of areas of the relationships, often resulting in a lot of toxic actions that we don't even realize we're doing. So I've actually done a deeper dive video, which I'll link to on the screen, but there are a lot of things that we can do in a relationship without realizing it that are causing a lot of damage and show that we have lower self-esteem than maybe we thought. So I'm going to leave you with that deep dive video, and I will see you over there.